So first of all, before I begin part 1 of the preview, looking at these 10 games that's going to be happening in week number 9 of the 2022 regular season, I do apologize in terms of the audio problem yesterday in the News of the Week episode. Certainly there was some that mentioned in the comment section that the audio was kind of a little bit messed up, and that I did try my best today to try to fix it, and hopefully it has for this video. If not, most likely now I'm going to have to record my video from my desktop instead of the laptop that I'm recording right now. But the second thing I also want to say before I begin this preview is that, it is allergy season, and today I have had a lot of problem with allergy. I've been having a non-stop running nose, so if I have a paper next to my nose like this, it's because of my allergy, and that, that's kind of the unfortunate part of the season as a person that suffer from allergy a lot, that this is kind of that season that I have to suffer through it, and even when I do take those medicines, it just does not work whatsoever. But anyhow, let us actually look at these 10 games that's going to be happening tomorrow on Saturday. And like last week, it's kind of balanced a little bit, where you do get the 4 matinee game, and then you will have the 6 nightcap game that is going to be happening for the Saturday action of week number 9. But we start off with the first game, which is the Houston Dynamo versus Austin FC. By the way, I've now just recently got my Austin FC Mint Verde kit that they wear for their away kit this season, and I gotta say, it actually looks really nice, and that this has been one of the jerseys that I've been wanting to get for this upcoming season. And it's also fitting that I'm wearing this jersey in this video, because they are playing away in this game against the Houston Dynamo, which will be an early one here, 1:30 p.m. Eastern, 10:30 a.m. Pacific, but the actual kickoff is 12:38 p.m. local time. And because this is a Copa Tejas match, this game is going to have to be on 2DN and on Twitter. And for someone that don't like Twitter and 2DN, and how I did mention how it was kind of frustrated that there was 2 Twitter stream in terms of the Saturday action. Guess what? We're going to have that problem again, where there's not only just going to be this game, but there's also going to be another one. So we're going to have it like a double header in terms of game that's going to be on Twitter stream and on 2DN. Now, in terms of the all-time meeting in this match, you got Austin leading the all-time meeting with a 2-0-1 record, as this is the 4th meeting between these two Texas rival. Top assist leader so far for the Dynamo, you got Adam Lundqvist with 2 assists, followed by Corey Bear and Coco Kierskia, and a bunch of Dynamo player currently with 1 assist this season. For Austin, Diego Fagundes, who really has been the main playmaker of this team alongside with Jerussi. He has had 5 assists so far this season, and really has started to look like the Diego Fagundes that really kind of break down in the league when he came into the league with New England a couple of years ago. Well, actually not a couple of years ago. I would say that's like 5 or 7 years ago, and that I've mentioned many times before. It feels like Diego Fagundes has been in the league for a very long time, and yet he is still kind of in his prime of his career, and in this season at least, he has really started to show the potential that when he came into the league, a lot of people were saying that he was going to be a future U.S. men's national team number 10. But as I mentioned, Sebastian Jerussi, another player that has been a pivotal player for this Austin attack. He has 2 assists, followed by, or actually, I'm sorry, not two assists. That actually is wrong. He actually has 3 assists so far this season. He's tied with Danny Pereira, who also have 3 assists this season. And yeah, this is going to be a matchup that, obviously, I think Houston, despite the fact that they're going to be the underdog in this game, they do have the home field advantage against an Austin team that finally broke the curse of them not winning a road game since their first ever win in franchise history, after getting a 3-2 win against DC United. But even then, when you look at that game, yeah, I mean, it was kind of a combination of DC kind of just imploding in the last 10 minutes, and also Austin decided to finally wake up and realize that, yeah, they have a man advantage and they have a chance to pull off the spectacular. So I'm not sure if that's going to be the same case, especially against this Houston team that, they have been one of the biggest surprise this season. I mean, for a team that I thought they were rebuilding, they're definitely doing well, though, certainly they want to bounce back after just such a tough loss that they suffer against FC Dallas in a game where they probably should have won that one, and then they just kind of throw the game away in the last 5 minutes. But now moving on, in terms of the next match, we got Toronto FC taking on FC Cincinnati, which will start at 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific, but the actual kickoff is 3:08 p.m. local time. TFC, of course, one of the hotter team in the league with a 3-2-3 record, though the last game was kind of an example of the TFC that we saw in the beginning of the season, where their defense just completely decided to not show up. And they're going to be playing against a Cincinnati team that, unfortunately, they're back in their familiar position in dead last in the Eastern Conference. But I said this before. I feel like this FC Cincinnati team is still much better than the one from last season. And even where they are in the standings, I think Pat Nolan has done a great job with this team, and that it's kind of unfortunate the fact that, you know, so far this season they're still suffering from the same issue that they had last season, which is they still somehow were able to find a way to lose games, or, you know, when they do hold on to or when they do have a lead in this game, they tend to not hold on and lose it at the end, as what we saw in the last game against LAFC. But at least I've mentioned before, I thought that game they played really hard and probably could have deserved at least a point out of that game. Now, in terms of the all-time meeting, TFC does have the advantage 4-0-2, but keep in mind, the last time FC Cincinnati played against TFC, which was at TKO Stadium, FC Cincinnati was able to beat them. In fact, that was kind of like a wooden spoon derby, and FC Cincinnati basically not only won the wooden spoon derby, or I would say lose the wooden spoon derby, because the winner of the wooden spoon derby is to lose that game, but they also make history of getting their first ever home win at TKO Stadium. Now, the top assist leader for TFC, you got Jonathan Osorio with 4 assists, followed by Alejandro Pozuelo with 4 assists. Then you got Lucas Petrasso with 3 assists. For FC Cincinnati, you got Lucho Acosta with 2 assists, Yaya Kubo with 2 assists, and Ronald Monterita with 2 assists for FC Cincinnati. So, yeah, this is a game that I'm pretty sure both of these teams are looking to try to bounce back after just kind of a tough resort that they had. I mean, you know, for TFC, you know that their defense need to bounce back. And, you know, the good news is they are going to be playing against Cincinnati, which this season, you know, the Cincinnati attack has been kind of up and down. There's been times that they have show up, and then there's times that they didn't show up. And there is still a question whether or not if Brandon Vasquez is going to be returning for Cincinnati, and that they hope that is the case, because he's literally been the offense for FC Cincinnati this season. But yeah, this should be an interesting game to watch. But we now move on in terms of the next game, and the next game is RSL versus the LA Galaxy. And as I mentioned, this unfortunately is the second game of the doubleheader of the Twitter and 2DN stream, as this one will start at the usual Twitter stream time of 3:30 p.m. Eastern, 12:30 p.m. Pacific, but the actual kickoff is 1:50 p.m. local time. RSL, you know, they have really came back down to earth after getting off to such a surprising good start with a 3-4-2 record. While the Galaxy, they continue to try to chase down their intercity rival LAFC with a 5-1-2 record, and still are currently in second in the West. All-time meeting, the Galaxy does lead this meeting with them leading 23-12-18 record over RSL. In terms of the top assist leader for RSL, you got Michael Chan with 2 assists and Pablo Ruiz also with 2 assists, and then you have a bunch of players that currently have 1 assist with RSL, and one of those players is Sebastian Cordova. For the Galaxy, Raheem Edwards currently has 5 assists, and what a year it's been for Raheem Edwards, a guy that has kind of really becoming journeyman around MLS, but this is probably the most lethal full year that he has in the attack since his days with Toronto FC. It is followed by Samuel Grandsir with 3 assists, and then Ryan Rivalson with 2 assists for the LA Galaxy. So, yeah, you know, this is a game that the Galaxy are going to be once again favored, because, you know, this team, at least, they're starting to kind of look like the Galaxy from last season, that was a team that got off to such a good start to the season. And not to mention, Chicharito has really been kind of the main attacking source for them again. Now, the good news about that is that, you know, yes, the Galaxy are getting off to a good start, and Chicharito is still Chicharito, and is definitely looking at trying to win the Golden Boot. But the bad news is that was the same story last season, and we know how last season went for the Galaxy. So, you know, I'm pretty sure a lot of Galaxy fans are just being very cautiously optimistic. I mean, they're happy with how their team has played to start the season, but they're also waiting to see when is the bottom going to fall out like they did last season. Whereas for RSL, you know, again, it feels like, you know, with how surprising of a start that they had, it felt like it wasn't going to be sustainable, and we have seen in these past couple of games that they have really definitely start to struggle, especially on the attack too, where they haven't really scored a lot of goals. And against a very high power Galaxy team, yeah, they're going to have to trying to maybe do what they did against the Timbers, which is probably bunker at home. Though I don't think that's going to be the case because you don't usually see a lot of MLS team bunker, and I think RSL will trying to go out blazing in this game and trying to get themselves a win after, as I said, these last couple of games, it's been rough for this team and has really brought this team back down to where I thought that they were going to be, which is going to be a team that probably is not going to make the playoffs this season. But now moving on, in terms of the next match, is Montreal versus Atlanta United. So despite the fact that both of these teams has the exact same record, both of these teams are heading into opposite direction. Because for Montreal, they're definitely getting themselves up in the standings after such a poor start to the season. And some of that has to accumulate because of them being in the CONCACAF Champions League. Whereas they play against Atlanta United team that is literally on a downward trend right now, and you could even say that they're kind of started to free fall a little bit, even though they're still I believe in fourth in the Eastern Conference, which is hard to believe considering they have lost a lot of games in these last couple of weeks. They still have a 3-2-3 record, just as I said with Montreal, and this game will start at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific, but the actual kickoff is 4:08 p.m. local time. Now, in terms of the all-time meeting in between both of these teams, Atlanta does have the advantage, 5-3-2. And keep in mind, the last time both of these teams play against each other, yeah, Montreal should have won that game. I mean, they were 3-1 up with a man up, but like I said, it feels like this season when you're a man up in the last 10 minutes, it doesn't mean the game is over. In fact, that's probably a part where you don't want to. You're definitely they don't want to be a fan of that. Of the team that is in that situation, because time and time again this season, for whatever reason, teams with a man up, they end up dropping points even they have the advantage there. But the top assist leader for both of these teams, for Montreal, unsurprisingly, Alistair Johnston and Georgi Mihailovic ties the team with 3 assists, followed by Ishmael Kone, a guy that has really been on the Canadian national team radar, and a guy that Montreal has had a lot of hopes that he's going to be a superstar for their team, with 2 assists so far this season. For Atlanta United, Joseph Martinez currently has 2 assists, but we know he's going to be out at least for another couple of weeks, followed by Marcelo Moreno and Brooks Lennon. So, yeah, this is a game that I'm pretty sure Montreal would love to erase what happened in the last time they faced against Atlanta, in a game where, they didn't lose that game against Atlanta, but it definitely felt like a loss with the way that they should have had all 3 points in this game if they didn't just have a Columbus Crew as kind of implosion in the last 10 minutes of the game with a man up. And, for Orlando United, I mean, they just got to score. Like, this team is having a tough time in terms of scoring goal. Yes, they did score goal in the last game against Miami, and I thought in that game against Inter Miami, that was probably the best that Atlanta United has looked in the past couple of weeks. But the problem is, they weren't very clinical in that game, and that, yeah, I mean, again, this team is really struggling to score goals without Joseph Martinez, which is kind of a very similar story to what happened in 2020 when they missed out on the playoffs and finished 11 in the Eastern Conference. But now moving on, in terms of the next match, we got Columbus versus DC United. So speaking of teams that have struggled to score goals, Columbus is definitely that team. I mean, after that 0-0 draw against Sporting KC, which, that was a game I mentioned was a desperation derby, and a 0-0 draw was the last thing both of those teams wanted because they desperately need a win. Well, they're going to be playing against a DC team that, again, I did make a video about the firing of Hearn Lasada and the downfall, and I did mention the fact that I feel like this DC team still has a shot of making the playoffs, especially now that they are under Chad Ashton, and at least from what I saw in the first game, he's definitely guided this team in the right direction to get themselves back on track. This is definitely going to be a game where they can improve themselves again against a team that, desperately need a win. The Columbus Crew, I mean, they have now gone 6 games without a win after they start the season 2-0-0. It has not been a start that Columbus fan was hoping for a season that they were supposed to rebound after that disastrous season last year, and not to mention they're no longer going to be having Jersey Zardes to the team. Now, this game is the first of what would be 6 games that is going to be in the nightcap action, as This game is 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 p.m. Pacific, but the actual kickoff is 7:38 p.m. local time. All-time meeting. Both of these teams, of course, met each other a lot because both of these teams are teams that originally came in, or part of the original 10 teams that came into the league in 1996, with DC leading the series 38, 11, and 34 over Columbus. Top assist leader, you got Derek Etienne Jr. with 2 assists, Maria with 2 assists, and then Lucas Zarian, who, he only has 2 assists so far this season, and it's been kind of a very, very slow start for their most important player in this team, not really getting as much assists or goals as Columbus was hoping for. I mean, it's also not surprised that Columbus is struggling so much when you have your best player struggles this season. It's no surprise that the team overall struggles as well. Now for DC, their top assist leader is Julian Gressel with 3 assists, followed by Chris Durkin with 1 assist, and Taxi Fuentes, who of course was part of that dream debut that he has with DC in the last game against New England, scoring 2 goals and register 1 assist, and was part of all 3 goals that DC had. And I'm very interested to see how he's going to perform in this game, because it's one thing to have a dream debut for your team, but it's also another to see if you can back that up, because we've seen so many times before where players can have a dream debut with a team and then that just it doesn't work. Always turns out to be the case. So we'll see how Taxi Fontas is going to do, and that if he can follow that dream debut with another great performance, then yeah, maybe, just maybe he's the real deal, and that's the guy that DC desperately miss on the attacking end. But yeah, this should be a good game, and a game that, again, both of these teams wants to get a win to get themselves back on track. Now, moving on, in terms of the next match, speaking of a team that desperately need a win to get themselves back on track, is New England and Inter Miami. So, last time both of these teams played against each other was not long ago. In fact, I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks ago that both of these teams play against each other. And I mentioned that was kind of the desperation derby because, Miami, they were one of the 2 teams that was winless, and it was the only winless team in the Eastern Conference, and everything looked like it was going bad for them. And ever since that, they have won all 3 of their games. Ever since they went winless. In fact, they're actually undefeated right now. Ever since Leo Campana decided to really be the leader of this team and be the actual goal scorer for this team and give Miami a real attacking threat for the first time in their franchise history, and they have now improved their record to 3-1-4. This game will start at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 p.m. Pacific, but the actual kickoff is 7:38 p.m. local time. All-time meeting between both of these teams. Miami, of course, leads the series 2-0-1. In fact, last time both of these teams play against each other at Gillette Stadium, Inter Miami, of course, won that meeting, and that was also a meeting where New England was kind of already in celebration mode, because they were already going to celebrate their Supporters Shield win, no matter if they win or lose against Inter Miami. And that it was kind of weird, the fact that yes, they lost the game, and yet the players still celebrate with the trophy. But yeah, this is a game that definitely has more meaning. And in terms of the top assist leader for New England so far, unsurprisingly, Carlos Gil, of course, leads the team with 3 assists. But you gotta say he has not had the start of the season he has been hoping for. In fact, there's been so many times where he has become very frustrated with this refs team, and a big evidence of that was in the last game, where he literally yelled at the coaching staff and Bruce Arena with how bad the refs were playing. Then you got Adam Buxo with 2 assists and DeJuan Jones with 2 assists. For Inter Miami, I mean, I mentioned Leo Campana. Not only the fact that he is a top goal scorer for this team, he's also one of the top assist leader with him, Ariel Lassiter and DeAndre Yetlin with 2 assists apiece. So, yeah, for New England, this is a game that you got to say that they have to win. I mean, you're playing at home against a Miami team that, yes, they are going for a bit of a resurgent period, but if you're a team that is not going to, like, I feel like New England is starting to fall into the same problem that let's say maybe Toronto has back in 2018, because remember how Toronto, they were a team that were coming off of an MLS Cup win and also a Supporters Shield, and also just missed out on a treble of winning the CONCACAF Champions League. But yeah, that team is still a good team, and it still had Javinko in their side, and they basically finished ninth in the standing, and that just feels like it's kind of the same thing with the Revs. And also, I think one of the big thing that the Revs have been missing with this team is Matt Turner. I mean, they desperately need Matt Turner back, especially with the way that when you see some of the goals that New England has conceded this season, Matt Turner was in goal. This team would not have conceded those goals, especially in the last game where, that game they probably could have got a point out of that one if Brad Knighton didn't concede a very soft goal that he did in the first half of that game against DC. So, yeah, they're desperately looking forward to Matt Turner coming back into this team, but they know that he's going to be gone in July, and that they're hoping that his replacement, which I mentioned they've already signed his replacement, will come to this team and solidify them, because it's pretty clear that they are having some issue in terms of goalkeeping. I mean, they have a lot of issue on other part of the field, but I think goalkeeping is one area that people are not talking as much, with the way that both Brad Knighton and Earl Edwards Jr. are just clearly not the answer for New England right now in terms of that goalkeeping position. But that being said, I am now going to switch board and look at the remaining 4 games that's going to be happening on Saturday. So moving on, in terms of the next game, we got Orlando City taking on Charlotte FC. That will also start at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 p.m. Pacific, but the actual kickoff is 7:38 p.m. local time. Orlando has a 4-2-3 record, and Charlotte has a 3-1-5 record. This is the first ever meeting between both of these teams, and for the top assist leader for Orlando City, Facundo Torres, a guy that, I know he's been a guy that has been slated of not having a good start to the season, and have not lived up to the potential that Orlando City basically paid to get him. Well, despite that, he's still the top assist leader for this team with 4 assists, followed by Junior Urso with 3 assists, and Maurizio Pereira with 3 assists. While for Charlotte, Ben Bender, their number 1 draft pick, with 3 assists to lead the team, and then followed by a bunch of players with 1 assist. 2 of those players are Jordi Alcivar and Alan Franco. And for Orlando, this has been a weird season for them, because while they're still one of the top team in the Eastern Conference, this team has really struggled at home. Like, you look at some of the games that they lost this season at home. I think they have they've lost, I think now 2 or 3 games this season at home. I mean, I know they lost last week against the Red Bulls, and I know they also lost against LAFC, and that they also lost, I think, against FC Cincinnati, which at that point was a very embarrassing loss. So yeah, in some way, Orlando is kind of like the New York Red Bulls, which I'll talk about next, where for whatever reason they struggle at home, but when it comes on the road, they turns out to be a good team, and it's kind of the reason why they're one of the top team in the league. Now, the bad news is Orlando was playing at home in this game against a Charlotte team that, in the last game, I thought that was the best road game that they play against the Colorado Rapids, and probably a game that they should have got all 3 points, but they'll definitely settle for the 1, as it was a historic first ever road win. And yeah, they can have a chance to maybe cause an upset. In fact, if there is a game where out of all of these games that's going to be happening tomorrow, this game probably is the most likely one that can cause an upset, because this is a Charlotte team that I feel like this season they're definitely having more of an above average kind of season for an expansion team. I mean, whenever you're an expansion team, you're going to have the growing pains and you're going to struggle in the league. But at least from what I've seen from Charlotte, they've been a very respectable team, and a team that, while they're not there in terms of being a playoff contender, they're definitely much better compared to what I saw with Austin last season, where, Los Verdes last season really, at first thought that they kind of got off to a good start, and then they went on a miserable run where they didn't really correct that until the second half of the season. And like I said, for Charlotte, they have a chance to make history again, maybe getting their first ever 3 points in this one. But that being said, moving on, in terms of the next match, we got Chicago versus the New York Red Bulls. So speaking of which, I mean, the Red Bulls this season being one of the top team in the league is mainly because of the fact that they've won all their road games so far, and they're actually trying to tie the record that the Galaxy set back in 1998 of winning their first 5 road games to start the season. But it's not going to be easy, as they played against a Chicago Fire team that, like RSL that I've talked about, they're a team that is starting to kind of come back down to earth. And the big issue for the Fire this season is goal scoring. I mean, this team is by far the lowest goal scoring team in the league, with the way that they have had so many 0-0 draw. And then in the last game, it was really kind of finally the game where, their defense that was really being pressured to keep clean sheet time after time, kind of finally got bleach against Minnesota. And it's not going to be easy, the fact that they're going to be playing against a Red Bulls team that, like I said, this season, I don't know what is it with the Red Bulls, but they tends to do so much better on the road compared to their play at home. And what's even more bizarre about the Red Bulls' dominance on the road is that they've done it without possession. Like, they're the lowest possession team on the road this season, and yet their counterattack has just been so amazing. And it kind of maybe reminds me a little bit of the Portland Timbers a couple years ago, where it feels like the Red Bulls are now, under Gerhard Stuber, are built more of a counter-attacking team, which, again, that's kind of a weird transition, because this was supposed to be a team that built on pressing, and that there's been times where they have looked good in terms of those counter-attack, and also at times look good in terms of the pressing too. Now, in terms of the all-time meeting between both of these teams, again, both of these teams are the part of the original 10 team that came into the league. So there's been a lot of meeting between both of these teams. Chicago does lead that series 32-13 and 22. Or, I'm sorry, the Fire wasn't part of the original 10 team. They were actually the first expansion team that came into the league back in 98. But again, since they came into the league so early into the league existed, that's why there's been a lot of meeting between both of these teams. But the top assist leader for both of these teams, I forgot to mention, this game will start at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, but the actual kickoff is 7:08 p.m. local time. But the top assist leader so far for this game, we got Xherdan Shaqiri with 2 assists, followed by Gaston Jimenez with 1 assist. Then we got Brian Gutierrez with 1 assist. And unsurprisingly, these assist number is not very high, because when you haven't scored a lot of goals this season, you're also not going to get a lot of assists. But for the Red Bulls, you got Frankie Amaya with 3 assists, followed by Patrick Lamala and Omar Fernandez with 3 assists. And yeah, this is going to be a game. It's going to be interesting to see whether or not if the Red Bulls can continue that dominance and tie the record for the most consecutive away wins to start the season, or can the Fire finally turn things around in terms of their goal scoring? I mean, they have not scored a goal in over 300 minutes now. It's been 2.5 games since they have scored or actually not 2.5 games. Yeah, I think, is it 2.5 games? But either way, it's like 300 plus minutes since they have last scored a goal. So this is a team that, they desperately need to get a goal, because I feel like we've seen this before, where when a team does go through a goal drought, it only takes one for them to really start to get going, and you just kind of sense that the Fire need to have that one goal for them to finally get out of this goal drought that they're enduring right now. But now, moving on, in terms of the next match, and speaking of a team that is also enduring a goal drought, is Sporting KC. They're going to be playing against FC Dallas in this game, and while Dallas has had one of the better records this season with a 4-3-1 record, while Sporting KC have a 2-1-6 record, and this game will start at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Pacific, and the actual kickoff is 7:38 p.m. local time. All-time meeting, Sporting KC does slightly leads the series 32-13 and 29 over FC Dallas. But the top assist leader for Sporting KC, again, for a team that doesn't score a lot of goals, it's unsurprising the assist leader chart is not very high. In fact, the 3 player I mentioned on this board all have 1 assist: Cam Duke, Daniel Sharry, and Ben Sweat. While for FC Dallas, Brenton Cervenia has lead the team with 3 assists, and a guy that has started to really kind of becoming the guy that, I know this season for Dallas, it's really been Jesus Ferreira that kind of is starting to carry the Ricardo Pepi torch of becoming the next FC Dallas Academy to break out. But don't forget about Brandon Cervenia. He's been a guy that have also done well this season, and definitely need to get some recognition. Another guy that will also get some recognition is Paxton Palmico, who, he's been battling with so much injury lately, but at least this year he's finally started to live up to some of the potential that he had when we talk about how he was definitely one of the most hottest prospect American coming into the league. And then you got Alan Velasco, a guy that has really started to live up to the price tag that Dallas paid, with 2 assists so far this season. And yeah, this is a game that, again, Dallas is going to be the favorite, and Dallas have been able to beat Sporting KC before on the road, even though Dallas is a team that doesn't do well on the road. And this could be another chance that they can do so, because again, this SKC team, they are struggling to score goals. And it's not surprising the fact that when guys like Daniel Sharry and Johnny Russell are not providing the goals, that this team just cannot do anything going forward on the attack, and that the longer this continue and the longer those two guys I mentioned is not going to get going, the longer this goal drought is going to go through for this team. But now moving on into the last game on this board, and the last game of the Saturday night action is the Colorado Rapids versus the Portland Timbers. So this game will be starting at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, but the actual kickoff is 7:08 p.m. local time. And if you want to talk about a desperation derby, I guess this game is kind of that, because, you know, the Timbers, you know, the last game has to be a very frustrating one with the way that they probably should have got a resort in that, or should have got a win against RSL, but just could not quite come through. Whereas for the Rapids, I mean, after what looked like it was a decent start to the season, yeah, they have come back down to earth, and this team has been really frustrating to watch if you're a Rapids fan, with the way that there's been times where they have showed the potential of why they were being at first in the Western or finished first in the Western Conference last season, and yet because of bad finishing, that has really kind of cost them points in some of these games. Now, this also could be the game that we might see the debut of Jerzy Zardes, and we'll see whether or not if that will be the case, and whether if he's going to have an impacted debut, because, you know, I think this signing of the Rapids bringing Jerzy Zardes will really help their attack, especially knowing the fact that, you know, I mentioned when Zardes went to Columbus from the Galaxy, he's a guy that can instantly provide an impact to the team when he goes to a new change of scenery, and it seems like that could be the same case for the Rapids in this game. Now, the all-time meeting between both of these teams, the Timbers does have an 11-6-9 record, but top assist leader, you got Michael Barrios with 3 assists, followed by Lucas Esteves with 3 assists, and Jack Price with 2 assists. For the Timbers, you got Jimmy Chara with 3 assists, followed by Sebastian Blanco with 2 assists, and Santiago Moreno with 1 assist for the Portland Timbers. In fact, that's kind of the only player that has been getting assists for the Timbers this season, as, you know, the Timbers is also a team that have problem scoring goals, which is kind of crazy to say, consider this is supposed to be one of the best attacking team for the past couple of seasons. But yeah, mostly the goals that they have scored has either been just some bicycle kick goals, or goals that is coming from an amazing free kick from Bill Tuiluma. So yeah, I mean, it's not surprised why that their assist number is not as high as it replicate their total goal score. But yeah, this is a game that I also would like to say that it's kind of a rematch of the Thanksgiving playoff game that we had last year, and that was a game where the Rapids, you know, they play well in the first half, and then in the second half, not so much. I mean, that was a classic game of two tails, and that we'll see whether or not if this time, if the Rapids does get off to a good start, can they finish the Timbers to not have the same issue that they had in that Thanksgiving playoff game against the Portland Timbers. But there you have it. That is pretty much it for the preview of the 10 games that is going to be happening tomorrow on Saturday. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think of these 10 games? And as always, let me know in the comments your prediction for these 10 games. Tomorrow I will do the preview of the 3 remaining game that's going to be happening on Sunday. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.